All the time on discovery calls, a lot of the time, people will ask, well, when can I start seeing results? And it's a question I think every SEO, every creative, every marketing, every ad agency gets. So I thought I'd put together a video on how long does it actually take to see results from SEO and from PPC. We'll start with SEO first. It's probably one of the most easiest things to explain. With SEO, as everybody says they know what they're doing with SEO, there isn't like a guidebook, theoretically, of everything you should be doing and how long it's going to take to see those results, right? Because we are working with an algorithm that changes all the time. They release updates through the year to do different things to improve the user's experience with search, with Google. So now when you've got things like LLMs, so like ChatGPT and other versions, and you have Google and you have Google Maps, there are so many different elements when it comes down to SEO. And the general rule of thumb and the analogy that I like to use with clients is look at your SEO like your gym progress, right? So you start your SEO journey and you're probably going to look the same for the first couple of months, and then you're going to start to see changes in your physique, in your face, in your arms, in your muscles, in the way that you're not out of breath when you run down the road, and when you're at the gym, your form's better. You're continuously working on things and progressing with things, and that's how you should look at it with your SEO. When you start doing your SEO, if you've never done SEO before, you are going to start to see results quicker than if someone's been doing SEO for a very long time, because your website has never been optimized. So the fact that you can go in and start to make changes, of course you're going to see results fairly quickly. With that being said, when it comes down to SEO, just like with your gym progress, if you stop going to the gym, if you stop lifting and doing progressive overload with your weights, and your nutrition goes out the window, you don't do your steps, etc., then your performance is going to start to dip. And just the same with SEO, it's always a work in progress. Just the same with your gym, it is always a work in progress. So you can put in the work to begin with, but then you have to maintain that work. You have to be creating content, you have to be doing your backlinking strategy, maybe a bit of digital PR as well, working on your LLM optimization, building out your brand. So it's never really finished, it's never really ending. I always like to say, when it comes down to SEO, the first couple of months is us getting things into play, writing your content, getting your website where it needs to be, and then from then onwards, that's when we start to see the real results. And it takes time, right? You can't pick everything up and think, right, you're going to go straight to market now and start billing and building and scaling the business ridiculously fast. It is possible with the right budgets and the right team behind you, but for your bulk standard SEO, it's going to take a decent couple of months to get the ball rolling, and then there onwards, work needs to be put in, just like going to the gym. I know I keep mentioning it, but it's a great analogy to really put in perspective for people that maybe aren't technical, that if you go to the gym and you carry on going to the gym, you're going to make progress. That's exactly the same when it comes down to your SEO. There are agencies that will promise this X, Y, and Z in the lead up to things, and I was actually on a call in my male entrepreneur group called The Foundry last month. It was the first call we'd ever done, and there's a few marketers in the group, so we're having a bit of a gossip about the SEO industry. One of the guys on there owns an SEO agency, and we were talking about the industry and stuff, and he said, Tom, like, we had this client, and you know, they were getting like loads of clicks, but they weren't really seeing any results, and then they stopped working with that agency and come over to us, and the traffic just dropped off a cliff. It turns out that SEO agency were using bot traffic to fake the traffic coming into Google Analytics, and the client was like, oh yeah, we're getting loads of traffic, and they were just paying for views onto their website, which is really naughty, right? There are so many cowboy SEO agencies out there. There are so many cowboy marketing agencies out there. We like to be a little bit different and transparent in our response when we're working with clients and the way that we do things and the way that we operate, because at the end of the day, we don't work on fixed contracts. So with us as an agency, you're not tied in for like 12 months or 24 months. It's literally a 30-day notice that we ask for, which means we have very high retention rates. I think our retention rate is something between 70 to 80% for SEO, and for other services it varies, but we have a very high retention rate for that very reason. So there's how long things take from an SEO perspective. I always say to gauge properly, you're looking at 6 to 12 months, but things can go up and down from that depending, but you should be getting reports every month of the progress that you're making, and then you can make informed decisions from that, and your account management team or your client success team should be pointing you in different things that they're doing or the team's doing to help optimize that performance further. Now, when it comes down to ads, it's very different, because when you launch ads, you're getting traffic straight away. It's not like it is with SEO where you have to build that up over time. As soon as you launch ads, you're pretty much going to start getting traffic to your landing pages as soon as possible. With that comes an optimization process. And you know, when you're looking at Google and you're looking at Meta or different ad platforms, there is a learning period in which the platform is learning how your ads are performing, who's it serving to, and all the different bits and bobs around that. So yes, when you launch ads, you're going to start to get traffic. You might start to get some leads, but the optimization and the well-oiled machine comes in weeks and months after that. A great example with our own marketing, with our own lead generation for ads, it has taken us probably nearly a year to perfect our ads. And that's for 2 or 3 reasons. One, our clients come first, which we're now changing that. We're having a dedicated person in-house working on our marketing. The second thing is our industry is very competitive and the cost per acquisition of a client from ads is very high compared to other industries. And putting all of that together as well with client work and brainstorming and building other things in the business, we're launching something alongside the business and launching a new business. So my time is very limited, but it's taken us a very long time to get to the point where we are with ads. But now we're pulling in the most leads we've ever had coming into the business from Google Ads specifically, and the quality of the leads is so much better and the highest that it's ever been. So it takes time, right? Rome isn't built in a day, as the famous saying goes. You can't expect to launch ads and things be perfect from day one. Another example, we started to work about 2 years ago with a online pharmacy in Canada, and they're basically focused on men's health. So erectile dysfunction, hair loss, other things around men's health. And when they first launched, they were a startup business. They weren't making any money because they were a startup. And now they've just sold their company to an investment firm. The cost per acquisition is the best it's ever been. The amount of leads, the amount of new purchases through the ads that we've been launching and running has been the best it's ever been. So, and that's been a 2-year project that we've been working on. Obviously, it hasn't taken 2 years to get results or a profit, but the way that the ads are now, it's the best that they've ever been. And it takes time to build that up, right? For small businesses especially, I understand and can empathize with, I need to get things running, I need leads as soon as possible. But all that ends up with that happening in the agency space is jumping from one agency to the other. And all you're doing is you're jumping forwards and then you're sort of going 10, 20 steps back because you're changing your ads all the time. We're changing providers all the time, and it just doesn't work. And the same goes for SEO, right? People sell things on the premise of this is going to be a quick fix, and it isn't going to be a quick fix. And that's the awful thing that's wrong with our industry. It takes time to build a brand. It takes time to build ads. It takes time to optimize and work on your physique if you put it down to the gym again. And it's always going to be a learning process. You're always going to be building on that. And you need to be, yes, seeing improvements and progress over time, but it's not going to happen overnight. So I always like to say a good 3 to 6 month period for running ads is a really good starting point to see how things are going, how your market's performing. Ideally longer if you can, but 3 to 6 months is a good testing period. We work with a lot of startups where they're launching something. We'll work with them for a short period to begin with to test data, see what's working, what isn't working, and then we can build and progress from there. So hopefully that's answered one of the most frequently asked questions that we get in discovery calls of how long things take. If you have like this, please do. If you're listening to this, please follow on your favorite podcasting platform, or if you're watching on YouTube, give a like, comment, subscribe. The usual really helps me out. And if you have any topics you'd like me to cover, leave them in the comments below. There we go. Stay awesome, stay safe, but most importantly, stay nerdy.